Welcome back. So right now we will just move a bit away from the agent and go towards workflow. So in this demo, I'm going to show you how you can build a simple workflow. We do not need an agent to run workflow. Workflow can be run independently, and I'm going to just demonstrate the capability here. Then in the later part, the next video, I'm going to show how you can stitch multiple agents together into a workflow. So let me try to make a sequential workflow. So one calling another, and then it's basically joined by a line. So it's kind of like connected one after another. One ends, another starts. So we have that sequential workflow, which is a typical kind of workflow. So let's dive deeper into our Visual Studio Code. We use the same agent framework. At the same time, I'm going to just give the name as 10 agent, I'll say, workflow. Simple. Bye. So if I just get into that and I say that, hey, I need to build that workflow. So let me bring in the necessary libraries. So I might need sysport sys, and then I just need from agent framework import agent. I don't need agent. So let me just say, let me just do a bit executor. Workflow needs that. Workflow context that is required. And then we have that handler. It is required workflow builder. That's all we need for the simple workflow. Now just let me define a class. Let's assume that the workflow first converts the input text into uppercase. So I'll say uppercase executor, and it takes the executor as its base class. So it's kind of like you have that inside. And then it also says that, yes, it's going to use that as a handler. And then we need a sync also. And then I just need lace. Let me do that. No, don't take that generated code. So I'm gonna just type it out. Right. So I'm say async def. So definition is to per. I'm just trying to make it very simple. So in that, you're gonna say self text as the string, and then context is the workflow context. So getting the value from, and then it's the input is string. So the context is going to give me string and say none. Okay, that's the definition. And then I say what it's gonna do here, convert the input into uppercase and forward to the next node. We call them as node. Okay. So and then because it is async, so I need to call await and say context dot send message to convert the text to upper. So you say just call this function upper, converts that into an uppercase thing. Now the second class, which is where I'm going to add bracket around it. So I'll say add. I'll just do the same thing. So I'll copy this. Let me just do that. Okay. Let me paste it here, and then I just change few things. Some add bracket executor, and then handler is will be there. And then I'm gonna say two, not so two uppercase. I'll say add bracket. That's the name. So self text string. So everything remains the same, none. But this time I'm gonna just change what it's gonna do. Wrap it around this. Okay, so it will basically, and then wrap it, and it will end here. So I'm not going to send it to the next thing. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to get the text here, put a bracket, just a crude way of doing it, and then put that plus space equal this much. Just need a bit space. Okay, so you can see that the bracket has been added before and after, and my two workflow context is kind of ready, which now I can handle it. So I now call the upper, sorry, call it upper equals to the uppercase executor, and the ID is, so I give an ID to this executor, and then bracket is the add bracket executor, and similarly I'll say ID equals to bracket. So these two are ready. Now I'm gonna define the main, but if I use that UI, I don't need to define the main. So let me just say if underscore name equals double quote underscore main underscore, then execute the dev UI. So I'm gonna say from agent framework. So it's part of agent framework. Remember that it's only for development activities. So dev UI, and then you say import survey, and then I'm saying add this entities, okay, equals to, this is why it was not showing me, entities equals to workflow, right? So the workflow which I need to define will be here. So let me first define that workflow over here. So here is where I'm going to define the workflow. So I'm saying workflow equals to workflow builder. That's when I need, and I will start the executor with upper. So the upper will be first happening, and then I'm gonna send that to the next one. So I'll say add edge. So you can add chain, add edge, and say the upper is the parent and bracket is the not bracket is the next one, and then I say build. That's how this is gonna get built. So the workflow is added here in the entity section, and then I use the port 8080 just in case your previously executed thing is blocking the port. You can always come here in Visual Studio and see what are the active ports. But right now they don't have. In case you have, You can always come and then kill them, or you can explicitly mention the port which is not conflicting, right? So you say auto enabled, true. This is a good practice. So this is also one of the parameters. So in a lot of time, we have seen that dev.ui doesn't really spin up because the port is being blocked. So use something else if that port is being used by important in, execution, use another port or kill the port coming here, right? So you can see that now this should actually work. So if I just execute it, Python 310 workflow simple py, it's gonna go ahead and open the dev.ui. I say open the browser, it should open my machine. You can see that. Uh, select an agent and workflow. Not open. True. Entities workflows. Why it is asking? It should not ask me this token. So let me just close this. Let's see that. Auth enabled, I say. It should be auto enable. Okay. Now, if I run it again, it shouldn't create any. Now, while it is running, you can see that there is also a port showing up here, right? So I need to just come here, terminate it, get the port freed up. So the port gone, come back and run it again. Otherwise, it will not work. So if I just, no, 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 sorry. So it is not auto enabled, auto open. Okay. And then it is done. Let me run it and then open in the browser and you will see a nice UI. And this is the beauty of the dev UI. You will be able to visualize. Right now, nothing is happening, so you don't see any changes. You don't see traces. You don't see events. You don't see tools getting called. All fine. Now, say configure and run, and I'm going to send that hello all. Hope you are liking the sessions. You all are doing well. Let's not be specific to this. And I execute it. Green means executed. So the upper got executed, bracket got executed. You basically have that capability of kind of like working on the scenario where you have this um, first sent to this upper and it got converted into upper. So this bracket is the system bracket. And then the final bracket output is going to add this bracket into the text. So the double quote is actually the text. I could have added a different kind of bracket that would have made more sense. Let me do that here just to avoid the confusion, right? So instead of this bracket, I'm going to add this bracket. So I'm going to add this, and then I'm going to add the other one like this. Okay, so that it should not look like the same one. So let me just run it one more time. Open the browser. You can also open the browser here. Now you can see that if I say configure and run, and I say hello all, hope you are doing well. And if you just go and execute that, you're gonna see this is showing up, and then here the bracket will be added. So this is the final output, right? And you can see so many events has happened, traces have happened, no tool call has happened. I'm not calling any agent, right? So it's just a workflow builder, simple method workflow, and then just this. That's the simplest way of thinking the how the workflow would work in this context.